The story of the 1955 Chevy Biscayne is one of the most incredible automotive rescues in history, a forgotten dream car that was buried in a Michigan junkyard, literally cut to pieces, and somehow brought back to life decades later. Imagine a concept car that once stood as a shining symbol of General Motors' innovation in the 1950s, nearly being lost forever. But thanks to one man's vision and dedication, the Biscayne lives again, glowing like it just rolled off the Motorama stage. When General Motors built the Biscayne in 1955, it wasn't just another car, it was a showstopper. Designed during Harley Earl's era, the Biscayne was sleek, smooth, and elegant, far removed from the chrome-heavy, fin-obsessed cars of the jet age. This was GM's way of showing the world the future of automotive design, a concept that introduced new ideas in styling and technology. It was also a proud display case for Chevrolet's brand new 265 cubic inch small block V8 engine, an engine that would go on to change the world of performance cars forever. After dazzling crowds at the Motorama shows, the Biscayne's time in the spotlight ended abruptly. By late 1956, GM decided it had no further use for the concept car. Following company policy at the time, the Biscayne was sent to Warhoop's Junkyard in Sterling Heights, Michigan, to be destroyed. Workers literally cut the car into several pieces, the roof and doors were chopped off, the frame and engine removed, and the remains tossed onto a pile of scrap metal. It was the end of the road for one of GM's most beautiful creations, or so everyone thought. Decades later, a Chicago restaurateur and nightclub owner named Joe Bortz began collecting old concept cars from the 1950s and 1960s. He called them the Rembrandts and Picassos of the American automobile industry. To him, these were rolling pieces of art that deserved to be saved. One day, Joe's son Mark came across a story mentioning that Warhoop's Junkyard still had the remains of several GM concept cars. It sounded impossible. After all, these cars were supposed to have been destroyed, but Joe and his son decided to take a road trip from Illinois to Michigan to find out for themselves. When they arrived, they couldn't believe what they saw. Sitting among the rust and wreckage were the remains of multiple Motorama legends, including the 1956 Cadillac Eldorado Brougham Town Car Concept, 2 Buick LaSalle prototypes, and yes, the 1955 Chevy Biscayne, cut apart, mangled, but still there. Joe bought them all, loading the pieces onto trucks and taking them back to his warehouse. At first, Joe didn't think the Biscayne could ever be restored. It was missing its frame, engine, and most of its body panels. The fiberglass shell had been sliced into multiple pieces. It looked hopeless, but a few of the craftsmen who had helped Joe with other restorations looked at the pile of parts and said, "We can save this." And with that, the long and difficult resurrection of the Chevy Biscayne began. Before we go any further, if you're enjoying this incredible story of automotive history, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video. It really helps the channel grow and keeps stories like this alive for all car lovers out there. Joe reached out to GM's design department to see if any original blueprints or photos of the Biscayne still existed. To his surprise, GM still had some documentation, including drawings of the chassis. That was a miracle, because the entire frame of the car had to be rebuilt from scratch. Joe then contacted a master craftsman named Kerry Hopperstead, known for his precision work on custom frames. Hopperstead's schedule was booked for years, but when another project fell through, Joe's Biscayne got its turn. The team then began sourcing parts. The powertrain was relatively easy. It used a standard 265 cubic inch small block Chevy V8 with a Powerglide 2-speed automatic transmission. This was the same type of engine that debuted in production Chevrolets in 1955, and it became one of the most iconic motors in automotive history. The challenge wasn't the mechanical parts, it was the body. Every panel had to be reconstructed, reshaped, and reassembled. The missing sections were recreated using reference photos, original GM documents, and old Motorama footage. Restoring the Biscayne was like piecing together a jigsaw puzzle made from history itself. Craftsmen like Mel Francis helped square the body and even created molds for a new windshield. Ruben Collazo worked on the interior, matching the original green leather upholstery with materials sourced from Bill Hirsch, a supplier known for vintage car restorations. Marty Martino handled the final finishing work, ensuring that every curve and line matched the 1955 original. After nearly a decade of painstaking effort, the Chevy Biscayne finally stood completed, reborn from the dead. When it was unveiled, it was stunning. The soft green metallic paint shimmered under the lights, the white wall tires gleamed, and the bodywork was flawless. The car looked exactly as it did when it debuted in 1955, perhaps even better. Joe Bortz proudly displayed the restored Biscayne at prestigious car shows, including the Amelia Island Concours d'Elegance, where it was admired by automotive legends and design icons. Retired GM Vice President of Design Wayne Cherry was amazed, calling it one of the great poster children of the GM Motorama era. He said it had everything: style, innovation, elegance, and that it influenced many later GM cars. And that's absolutely true. Look closely at the Biscayne, and you'll see design cues that appeared in future Chevrolet models. The rear of the car resembles the first-generation Corvair, which came out 5 years later. The sculpted side coves show up on the 1957 to 1960 Corvettes. Even the 1958 Chevrolet sedans carried traces of the Biscayne's design DNA. One of the most interesting details about the Biscayne is what it doesn't have: a conventional front grille. That was almost unheard of in the 1950s, when big chrome grilles were the norm. Instead, the Biscayne's nose featured chromed intake ports on the front fenders that were purely decorative. The podded headlights, perched above the hood, gave it a cheerful, almost animated face. The body design was airy and open, with no B-pillars and rear-hinged suicide doors. The doors latched into the floor instead of the pillars, using intricate clockwork-style mechanisms that had to be completely rebuilt during the restoration. Inside, the Biscayne's cabin was pure 1950s futurism, luxurious yet minimal, with unique handcrafted trim and no exterior mirrors. Everything about the car was custom-made, from the badges to the hubcaps. Underneath, it was mechanically simple, but visually it was pure art. The small block V8 produced around 215 horsepower, though it's unclear whether this engine was a modified Corvette version or a special GM engineering prototype. Either way, it gave the Biscayne plenty of spirit for a concept car that was never meant to drive long distances. When you think about it, it's incredible that the Biscayne even exists today. GM once ordered it destroyed. It was chopped up, abandoned, and nearly forgotten. But thanks to Joe Bortz's passion, it's now a living piece of history, proof of how far vision and dedication can go. Joe once said, "This car is an important piece of GM design history, created by some of the company's best designers at the time." And he's right, there's only one Biscayne in the world. It was almost lost forever, but now it shines as a priceless reminder of what American car design once was. Experts estimate its value between $500,000 and $750,000, but its real worth is in the story it tells. So, what do you think? Should GM have preserved more of these concept cars instead of destroying them? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more incredible stories from automotive history. The 1955 Chevy Biscayne is more than just a car, it's a miracle on wheels. From junkyard rebel to concours royalty, its journey is one of the most inspiring restorations ever. Thanks to one man's belief that cars could be art, the Biscayne will never again be forgotten.